Greetings and welcome back to our daily English news right here on TMH with me, Deletna Dabalko. I want to wish all of our viewers a happy New Year's and I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. As we move on to our headlines for today, U.S. Special Envoy Feltman to visit Ethiopia as planned for tomorrow, Thursday. Doctors at the only hospital in Tigray, are frustrated at the world's inaction to press the Ethiopian government to lift the blockade imposed on their region immediately. And the cost of war in Ethiopia has run into the billions as the war continues. The U.S. Horn of Africa Special Envoy Jeffrey Feltman will visit Ethiopia on Thursday for meetings with senior government officials to discuss peace talks. The State Department spokesperson Ned Price confirmed the visit, which comes as Washington's latest push to bring an end to this conflict. Price opted not to comment when asked if the special envoy will also meet with the Tigrayan leadership, and the spokesperson said the U.S. is seeking an immediate cessation of hostilities and an end to the ongoing human rights violations, unhindered humanitarian access, and the negotiated resolution to the conflict in Ethiopia. He also added that the conflict threatens peace and security in the Horn of Africa. Tigrayan forces fighting in the central government last month withdrew from their neighboring regions in the Ethiopian north, a step towards the possible ceasefire and negotiations. Last week, State Department Ned Price said that the withdrawal in the Ethiopian government, stating it did not intend to pursue those forces in the Tigrayan region, offers an opportunity for the parties to come to a negotiation table. But airstrikes in Tigray have continued, have not stopped, and reported killings of dozens of civilians, and no aid to convoys have also been able to enter the region since mid-December, and the United Nations Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said this on the 30th of December. As the doctors at the only hospital in Tigray are frustrated at the world's inaction to press the Ethiopian government to lift the blockade siege. Medical doctors at Ida Referral Hospital said 42 kidney patients have died over the last 2 months as the dialysis center has stopped giving services completely due to lack of medicine and equipment. According to the hospital's medical staff, the dialysis center stopped services due to the lack of inputs and medicine. Internal medicine specialist at the hospital, Dr. Ephraim Berhe, said the siege and the blockade on Tigray is exacting a huge toll on the lives of the people. Let's listen to what he had to say.
The
machines that can do dialysis are here. We also have the experts to do the job, like the kidney specialists and the dialysis nurses. We had given the same service for 6 to 7 years, but as a result of lack of dialysis supplies, like the dialysate, catheters, bloodline, and acid concentrate jars, and bicarbonate, we have completely stopped services. According to the dialysis center in the hospital, 42 patients who should have received new and continued treatment have not been able to and have also lost their lives due to the lack of insufficient medicine within the last 2 months. The dialysis center said that they used to provide services to almost 170 patients, treated only 32 within this last year alone. The dialysis center was established 8 years ago with the target of providing dialysis services for 10 million people in the northern region of Ethiopia. The medical doctors said Ethiopian and Eritrean armies and forces allied to them have not only destroyed Tigray's health care system, but also blocked the medicines and food to enter their region as well. We are in a total siege. We are of no use to our patients. I'm not even sure why I'm here, as I can't help the patients any better than a random guy on the street or the parents' families. We are helpless as we see our patients go to their graves. I implore the international community to end the suffering induced by this blockade. I particularly call on the Tigrayan diaspora to come and rescue their people. The medical staff has called on the international community to go beyond the rhetoric and take practical measures to exert enough pressure on Abiy Ahmed's government to end the siege on the Tigrayan region as soon as possible. And related to the Feltman news that I podcasted earlier, sources Jeffrey Feltman said will step down from his post this month to be replaced by David Stratfield, on the outgoing U.S. ambassador to Turkey. Reuters, which quoted 3 sources familiar with the matter today, reported that the U.S. Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa's departure. He has been in the job for more than 9 months. Feltman, a veteran U.S. diplomat, assumed the post in April and quickly found himself in the middle of 2 major crises, Ethiopia's deepening war as well as the military coup in Sudan in October. The Ethiopian government says it's blocking the bank accounts of Tigrayans and Oromos. The Ethiopia's federal police announced that it has blocked bank accounts of over 240 individuals who are suspected of links to the Tigrayan and Oromo forces. The Ethiopian federal police said that it is also seized and confiscated about 250,000 US dollars and 50,000 British pounds and from different countries' currencies, as well as 115 million Ethiopian birr during this conflict. Turkey keeps U.S.-China on toes for lucrative arms market in the African continent. The value of Turkey's arms sales in Africa in 2021 rose by 700% to a total of 328 million US dollars from the previous year of $441 million, according to the data from Turkey's General Assembly of Exporters. Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia, Nigeria, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Somalia are some of the Eastern African countries that have defense pacts with Ankara, offering a market for rifles, tanks, as well as drones. Turkey has in the past 2 years deepened ties with the continent, which has resulted in the signing several trade defense pacts. So far, it has signed 16 agreements with the African countries as it seeks to make the continent its 3rd largest export market for defense equipment. The country is renowned for its manufacture of helicopter engines, armored land vehicles, rockets, missiles, light weapons, and even defense software. For the continent, Turkey offers competitive prices for its military hardware with a no-strings-attached policy. Ankara already has a military base in Somalia as well as Morocco. Its latest sales to Addis Ababa, which is currently waging war in the northern region of Tigray, didn't go unnoticed. In August, Turkey signed a military co-op deal with Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and sent an unspecified number of drones to Addis. Everywhere I go in Africa, everyone asks about the UAV, unmanned aerial vehicles, President Erdogan said after his October visit that featured Angola, Nigeria, and Togo. Federico Donili, an international relations researcher at the University of Genoa, says Turkey has significantly pushed the defense sector, especially drones. They're seeking to triple the annual trade value with the continent to 75 billion US dollars in the coming years. Currently, the Turkey-Africa trade volume stands at about 25 billion, having grown from 5.4 billion in 2003. Welcome back to our daily news. As we continue with our main news for today, economists urges European countries to impose economic sanctions on Ethiopia by following the U.S. example. So Dr. Arya Mabratu, who is a researcher on economic issues, particularly called for the global economic sanctions in Ethiopia, as Ethiopian Airlines and Commercial Bank of Ethiopia are strongly backing the genocidal war on the Tigrayan region. He encouraged the Tigrayan diaspora to strengthen their struggle and push for the European-wide economic sanction on the government of Ethiopia. Anadolu Agency reports that the cost of war in Ethiopia has run into the billions of dollars. The 14-month-old war, who has seen vast destructions of socioeconomic infrastructures in Ethiopia, apart from the human cost, which is estimated at tens of thousands of deaths already, the UN said there has been a large scale of destruction and appropriation of property by various actors, including armed forces, militias, civilians, as the war continues to wage on. What remains in the 14-month-long conflict is the ugly face of war, which has left damages estimated in the billions of dollars, as he said earlier. And according to the news agency, the government is on the record saying that its many aerial bombardments of Tigrayan region have destroyed manufacturing and industrial facilities. Residents from Tigray who spoke to Anadolu Agency said in such attacks, civilians, including children, were among those killed in the populous regions where Tigrayans live out. Abrahat Fesahaye said a student told the agency, if you walked around the city, you will see for yourself the damage that has been done by the Ethiopian army on its own people. We are Ethiopians. We don't want war. So many places have been bombed already, leaving us with no jobs, no school. We want this war to end. We want peace. It will be extremely costly to rebuild. Aside from the damage caused to the markets that were bombarded by the government in Tigray, Ethiopian forces have also been accused of bombing sections of the Tekaza Dam located in the Tigrayan region, which generates 300 megawatts of power on a 105-kilometer transmission line joining the national grid. Since the start of the war, government forces have been accused of targeting and destroying telecommunications towers and infrastructures, which most areas in Tigray are cut off from network connectivity as the war has intensified. The UN said that while more than 7 million people are in need of humanitarian aid in the northern Ethiopia, efforts to mobilize assistance in Tigray, where more than 5 million people look to face food-like famine and an estimated 400,000 are now living in famine-like conditions, have been more than difficult to the government restriction on the blockade that has restricted them from being able to deliver cash, fuel, as well as the supplies they need into their region. Tigray features prominently in the France 24 Top 10 Eyewitness Images from 2021. From Tehran to Tigray and from Yangon to Beirut, France 24 presented 10 citizen images that shaped 2021 in a story of one picture. 2 images from Tigray are specifically featured in this report, and Timnit Beirut has more on this story. The year 2021 was again marked by the COVID-19 pandemic. As the virus variants sparked new waves of infection around the world, it wasn't the only thing that made this year unlike any other. All over the globe, citizens, activists, and eyewitnesses continued to film and photograph the newsworthy events going on in their own backyards. Their image and their stories allowed the international media to share the news from a new perspective. France 24 presented 10 citizen images that shaped 2021 around the world. A woman hit with live ammunition in Myanmar, residents of North Kivu parading around the ADF fighter's body in the Democratic Republic of Congo, indigenous land and culture under threat from illegal miners in Brazil, clash outside the parliament building in Tunisia by political parties are some of these impactful images. 2 rare images from Tigray, Ethiopia, featured in this report document the horrors of the Ethiopian conflict. A video shot on the 5th of January started to be shared online in February after a long investigation by France 24 was finally able to verify it. The video shows a massacre committed by the Ethiopian army in the village of Mai Harmaz and Debre Abay in the Tigray region. Since the 4th of November 2020, Ethiopian government forces have been in conflict with the Tigray armed forces. The video, filmed in January, shows 30 bodies with traces of blood lying on the ground, surrounded by men in uniform, exchanging in Amharic, Ethiopia's official language, and discussing the situation in a light-hearted manner. As Abiy Ahmed's government forbids access to the area for journalists and NGOs, this video is an essential document of the atrocities committed in the context of this conflict. A few days later, another horrifying video came in. It is unbearable, shot in the hospital of Adigrat, a town in Tigray. It shows a doctor removing several objects from the vaginal cavity of a woman. She is a Tigrayan woman who has been repeatedly raped for several days by Eritrean forces and allied with the Ethiopian army. This video is a document that clearly attests to the use of rape as a weapon of war. As the world enters the new year, the 14-month war in Ethiopia that has spawned the world's biggest humanitarian disasters continues unabated. The Ethiopian government and the Eritrean government are accused of carrying executions, torture, and mass rape. The conflict worsened over the course of the year, with some people denouncing it as an ethnic cleansing and others as a genocide. Mass displacement of people from Western Tigray, mass arrests and internment of Tigrayans based on their identity in Western Tigray, Addis Ababa, and other parts of Ethiopia, as well as the complete blockade of Tigray, has continued with no meaningful action by the international community to put it to stop. That's our news for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Goodbye.